Doesn't take a motorsports aficionado to recognise that we are at the iconic Silverstone. Of course, it's probably written exactly where you're watching this right now, but it's time for the final race of the weekend in the GB4 Championship. It's round 6 of this year's season, and it's the reverse grid race where anything can happen. We've got Callum Baxter on pole position, Jason Pribble second, and Dan Ginchard starting third, with Leandro Juncos fourth with an all-hill speed second row. It's going to be a fantastic race because Callum Baxter, whose parents we've just seen here at the BRDC clubhouse, is the highest ranked, and you told me this, I'm going to not take any credit for this, the highest ranked driver that's returning from last year.
I believe so, unless I'm mistaken.
Oh, you made it up? Oh, great.
No, I didn't make it up. I'm pretty
good.
sure. He came 7th last year in the championship, of course, taking some good results. He's back again this year with Graham Brunson Racing. I think as a team, Graham Brunson Racing have taken a step forward. He was the beneficiary of the 12th place reverse grid flip. Qualified 12th, will go from pole position.
Excellent stuff, and of course, under the driver coaching of Max Maserati, who we saw on the broadcast last time out at Donington Park, who's been there and done it before, so some great knowledge behind the scenes and a team that has had some good success in the past. Of course, this is the third race of the weekend, which means we've already had 2, so let's remind ourselves of what happened on the second race of the weekend earlier this morning.
Highlights from round number 5 of the GB4 Championship, partnered by the BRDC, and once again it was a very good start down into the first corner from Isaac Phelps, getting alongside his teammate Alex Catoulis and taking over the race lead by the time they left that opening corner, with Ari Bansal trying to find his way through into second place as well. It was Jack Taylor who was working his way up the order as well. Luca Magnussen having a bit of a moment heading down into Abbey with a bit of a slide. He'd come to a stop, but it would cause a safety car. Later on in the race there was this moment for Pribble on the inside of Alex O'Grady, causing yet another safety car in the race, before we had some battling late on. Dayton Coulthard getting pushed out wide by Thomas Ingram Hill, before Ingram Hill would return into the pit lane. Dayton Coulthard would go on to finish inside the top 10, but an unfortunate instance for Ingram Hill, getting aggressive down the inside and contact between the pair of them, seeming though as more of a bit of a racing incident. The safety car would once again restart, and they would come up towards the line. Isaac Phelps leading that one, and very comfortably indeed on the restart of the race. Leon Wilson trying to battle with Dayton Coulthard and going out wide, allowing Coulthard to come through and moving up the order. Isaac Phelps would then lead them across the line for another Elite 1, 2, 3. And there we go, race number 2 of the weekend done, 5 of the championship, and the results are as such. Isaac Phelps winning the race by just over a 1/10 of a second from Catoulis, and Ari Bansal makes it an Elite 1, 2, 3. Taylor in 4th position with Ginchard, then Juncos, Coulthard, O'Grady, Wilson and Berg the top 10. Behind that, of course, with Ginchard setting the fastest lap of the race as well, importantly in 5th position. It would be Dean Areen in 11th position with Holman and Baxter, the GBR cars either side of Holman. Then Ava Dobson in 14th position, before we get to Megan Bruce in 15th, Josh McLean, and then Holly Mile with 9 Evans, Lily Watkins down there as well with Caitlin McDaniel. Hilton, Ingram Hill, Pribble and Magnussen all having issues during the race. Let's investigate the championship standings after 5 races, with Catoulis leading the championship by 4 points on 122 over Isaac Phelps on 118, Ari Bansal on 104, then Ginchard, Juncos, Taylor, Berg, Holman, Wilson and O'Grady the top 10 of the champ.
Really has been a dominant start to the first 5 rounds of the championship by Elite Motorsport, locking out the podium there
again.
Yellow everywhere. I know, exactly. It's not the first time they've done that, and I mean this is going to be a little bit different, isn't it? Because we've got cars scattered around with the reverse grid race. So we've said about Callum Baxter, obviously he's going to be very, very strong. Who else do you think is kind of up there that can make up some places and potentially challenge for a lead? We saw in the GB3 reverse grid race earlier that a little bit of chaos can help drivers come through the pack.
Well, we've seen in the starts of both GB3 and GB4 that left-hand side of the straight, so the odd-numbered places 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, have generally had a better launch. And going from 3rd place on the grid was our championship leader, Dan Ginchard, coming into this weekend. Doesn't have the championship lead anymore, but he's going to be one to look out for. Leandro Juncos is alongside him in 4th place. He's going to be fighting hard, but let's not count out Jason Pribble for ADM. He's starting on the outside of, inside of the front row in 2nd place as well. So keep an eye out for all of those 3, and also the elite cars in yellow fighting their way through.
Yeah, of course, you can't count them out. We'll hear from a couple of those drivers that Piers mentioned in just a second, but first of all, let's hear from someone we've not heard from this weekend. Megan Bruce, who'll start 18th for KMR Sport.
Megan, back again in GB4. We spoke to you at the first round, but let's talk to you about this weekend at Silverstone. Of course, you've raced this championship before, but in a different car. Talk to us about the different challenge this year.
Yeah, I mean the car's like really good. It's definitely a step up. Obviously, there's a lot of changes. Got the halo, diff and stuff. So it drives a bit differently, different setup-wise. But yeah, it's really good fun.
And how does it differ driving around somewhere like Silverstone compared to last year's car?
I think, to be fair, just the exits are really important now, especially obviously the straight anyway, but with this car it's definitely a lot more important, and there's obviously long straights around here, big circuit, so it's definitely a big one.
We've had a couple of races already this weekend. How are you finding it in the cut and thrust of battle?
Yeah, it's good. It's definitely intense, more intense than last year. It's an all-right race one. Obviously, it's not where I want to be, but it's the progress and stuff. Race 2 was a bit tricky. I mean, there was 2 safety cars, so it kind of stopped the flow a bit. But I made up some time afterwards. But yeah, there wasn't enough time to make up some more positions.
What are you hoping for from race 3? We know it's the reverse grid, didn't quite make the promotion in that one, but you can still race forward from there, I'm sure.
Yeah, definitely just keep progressing from these last 2 races. There's lots learnt from the last 2 races, and yeah, hopefully fight a bit higher up because we know we have the pace. We just need to make the right moves.
Megan, we look forward to seeing you in race 3 doing exactly that.
Thank you.
Well, Piers squeezing in an interview there with Megan Bruce just before she dashed off after the second race of the weekend. With KMR Sport, of course, they're the only team that have won the GB4 Championship so far, so KMR Sport have been absolutely dominant. However, Elite Motorsport dominating at the moment. And Piers, you went and caught up with a couple of members of the Elite team while they were waiting for their cars to be weighed earlier on.
After race 2, I've headed down to the elite area of the paddock because they've had a pretty good start to the weekend. I've got Demi and Josh who work behind the scenes with the drivers. Demi, do you remind everyone at home who you work with?
I work with Isaac Phelps.
And Josh?
I work with Alex Catoulis.
Guys, it's been a pretty solid start to the year for you guys. You know, you've had a triple podium at Donington. You've just done the same thing in race 2 here at Silverstone as well. What do you think is the secret to your success so far this season?
I'd like to say it's just the car's been well prepped and the driver's been okay at driving the cars. It seems to be keep going round and you're okay.
Keeping it simple. Yeah. And Josh, working with your driver as well, talk to us about what it's like working behind the scenes, because of course you work on the car, but you have to work closely with the driver as well.
He's a good lad, Alex. Yeah, work a lot with him, and obviously we have quite long hours together when we're prepping the cars. Obviously he doesn't come to the workshop when we spend a lot of hours there, but at the track we try our best to keep the cars in tip-top position, or get ready to go out for a 1, 2, 3, and try our best. So that's about it, really. Yeah.
And is there anything bespoke that you have to do between each driver? I know that obviously you work together as a team, but on individual drivers. Are there differences in the cars?
Small amounts. Certain drivers have different driving styles, but it's never usually anything major, so they're all pretty much the same.
And then we've seen the success already this weekend at Silverstone. We had the similar situation last time at Donington. Did the team celebrate after the weekend?
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
How do we celebrate?
I don't know if I'm allowed to say.
The local pub seems pretty good.
Yeah, a little pub trip, or go out partying.
Is that near the circuit or back at the factory base?
Factory base.
Yeah, factory base, yeah.
Excellent. Well, it's good that you're able to enjoy the celebrations. Of course, it's a long season ahead. What are your hopes for the rest of the year?
Keeping up the good work.
I think that's a good plan.
Yeah.
Anyway, I've got Demi and Josh from Elite Motorsport. They are 2 of the people behind the scenes that are allowing Elite to have such a successful year so far.
We normally see teams celebrating with ice creams. I haven't actually seen Mr. Whippy this weekend. Normally Mr. Whippy is pretty much at every single round of the GB3. Maybe Mr. Whippy was parked somewhere where we weren't. It would be a shame if we didn't see him. That was quite interesting actually, because Demi was trying to throw Josh under the bus earlier on during the second race when they were getting ready, because they didn't want to talk to she didn't want to talk to the camera. She threw him under the bus, and you managed to go and capture both of them. So that's fantastic, Piers. I'm very pleased for you doing that. I mean, they're going to be celebrating because they've had such an epic weekend and such a great start to the GB4 season. Let's talk about another driver, Dan Ginchard. I know you've been very impressed with him. We're going to hear from him in just a second. And when you were speaking to him, a lot of people taking notice of him, a lot of fans there, a lot of friends and family. So he's very well supported as well.
He is very well supported. He's been very successful in karting in the UK and moved up to F4 level racing. He's done a couple of seasons of that. Not to the success that I think he would have liked, but it's good to see him get a good opportunity this year in GB4. And who knows where he can go in the future. future.
Absolutely. Well, let's hear from Dan Kinchard then. Very impressive so far this season.
Dan, we've caught up with you a fair amount this season, of course, coming away from Donington, a Championship leader. Unfortunately, Championship leaders just slipped away, but you've still shown some great pace this weekend.
Oh yeah, definitely. We've had a bit of a lack of testing here, so we've just been working on the car through qualifying and the races. So it hindered us a little bit in qualifying, but in that race 2 just gone, we had the purple fastest lap. So yeah, we definitely made steps in the right direction.
Yeah, we heard with spoke with Leandro directly after race number 2, and he echoed your thoughts that you've made a step forward as a team. What sort of things have you been changing through the weekend to allow you to get closer to the ultimate pace?
I wish I could tell you we've changed everything. We've flipped it completely upside down, but it's good, we're trying our best here when we're a bit of a lack of testing compared to other teams, but I'm glad we're finding our foot in and getting in the right direction, and that pace showed in race 2.
It must be a good feeling that you're stepping forward as a team, especially at this early stage when you say you've had a relative lack of testing as well.
Yeah, definitely. If we're this strong already, we're only going to get stronger and stronger as the season progresses, and when we come back here later in the year, we'll be right on the pace straight away.
It's a bit early to say, we've still got race 3 to come, but looking ahead to the remaining races this season, what are you hoping for? What are you concentrating on?
I think just bagging good points, no contact. There was a bit of contact in that race. The first time we had safety cars and we had 2 of them in one race. So just keeping my nose clean. If we can get the pace strong everywhere we go, then we'll be fighting right at the front with those elite cars.
You had a fair amount of airtime in race number 2, primarily because of the moves you were pulling. You've had a fair amount of experience at this sort of level. Is that sort of where the experience comes in handy?
Yeah, definitely, especially the safety car restarts and stuff. It's quite new for some people, so I think my experience definitely helped. And with the car being much better as well, it just overall was a really, really fun race.
Well, it was fun to watch as well. Dan, thanks very much for catching up with us, and we'll keep an eye on the red and black car coming through the field in race number 3.
Perfect, thank you.
Dan Ginchard there with Hill Speed, starting alongside his teammate Leandro Juncos. Different looking cars though, so I'm sure you'll explain that on commentary.
You can leave that to us.
Yes, absolutely. Let's hear from another driver then. Jason Pribble didn't have such a great second race, did he?
No, unfortunately ended the race on the grass, stranded. He had I don't want to give it away. We spoke to him about the incident, but car wouldn't restart. He's shown good pace considering at the moment they're a one-car team with ADM.
We're going to go over to the ADM awning now. This was earlier on. What was he eating just before he went over? Was it some kind of...
I think it was a toasted pork pie.
Toasted pork pie, and then the chap that was with him, who may be a family member, I'm assuming it's possibly father, was talking about some kind of rolled up something else. I mean, they're basically enjoying all the food that Silverstone has to offer.
Jason, you're back again this weekend at Silverstone with ADM. We saw you at Donington Park. I think you've taken a step forward as a team this weekend in terms of pace. You're right in the mid-pack.
Absolutely. Qualifying was a great showing for us. Our best qualifying, obviously, only 2 rounds in, but it still felt good. I knew there was more on the table, but overall we put ourselves in a great position for the weekend, which was a change from Donington, yeah.
It's been very close in the midfield. We saw you getting involved in the battles in race 1 and race 2, but let's just touch on race 2 briefly. Unfortunately, it didn't end the way you wanted it to. Just talk us through the race up until that point, and then, of course, the incident that saw you not be able to finish the race.
Yeah, I had a great start, and I was really looking forward to the rest of the race. Got, I think, 1 position off the line, 1 position later in the lap, and then started falling behind. I think a lot of these guys have more experience in racing downforce cars than me, and that just showed because they were able to make moves and progress through the pack the way I wasn't. And then, yeah, obviously, as I was sort of getting into the rhythm, getting back into where I thought I should be fighting for, I just made a mistake. I think I could have made that move happen had I just braked a little bit harder and a little bit later. Just the combination of the two would have made more sense. And yeah, I just got in a bit too deep and spun myself around. So unfortunately, the car didn't start back up, and that was the race over. Yeah.
Yeah, small mistake with unfortunately large consequences, but of course it sounds like you've already learnt from that, and you'll be taking that forward. But you mentioned about some of the other drivers with more single-seater downforce experience. What sort of things are you looking at seeing that they're able to do that you're working on to be able to potentially do in the future in race 3 and then going forward for the rest of the year?
Yeah, this track specifically has a lot of high downforce corners. You got Cops, Maggots, Becketts, and Stowe are the 2 that come to my mind in terms of, or the few that come to my mind in terms of just like how much you're relying on that. And unlike Donington, when you're behind a car, there's a lot of aero wash, and unsurprisingly, even though, I mean, we've got only 1 main plane, these cars still have front downforce, and when you get up behind a car like that, it doesn't work anymore. So getting to grips with the fact that you won't have that sort of front end anymore, and figuring out how to time your exit through a corner to make a pass is something new to me that I'm working on. Yeah.
We'll see you, of course, working out throughout the rest of the season. You know, how do you rate this weekend so far?
You know, I think it's tough to say because my expectations are always high, but I've definitely leveled them out a little bit. I'd say at the moment they're about a 5 out of 10 because we had a good qualifying, but the races haven't been quite there for me. So obviously we have a good chance for race 3. So we'll see what we can do with that.
Jason, we'll look forward to seeing how you get on in race 3. Always easy to spot with the ADM cars, pink flashes on the wings.
Yeah, I do love the look of that thing.
Well done, Piers. Great chat there. We can now see Jason's car here. It's a very striking car. Nice grey with a few blue tones, a bit of carbon fibre. Is that actually carbon fibre or is that a sticker?
I think it's
It
a
is real
vinyl.
carbon fibre, yeah. I couldn't see in the light there. It looked like it was a carbon fibre effect, but why would you make an effect when it's made of carbon fibre? It
it's
doesn't make any
proper
sense
carbon
at all. Doesn't make any sense. We got to the bottom of the mystery food, by the way. It was a brownie rolled in a pancake and toasted.
Yes, I believe so. They really like their culinary creations in the ADM awning, but creation that they're trying to make is a good race using the tyres tactically. You see that Jason's got 2 new tyres on the left-hand side. He's the only one inside the top 5 or 6 drivers, maybe even at the front half of the grid that's got the new tyres. That'll give him a bit of an disadvantage on potentially lap 1, but an advantage especially in the middle stage of this race.
Yeah, so it looks like Jason and the team are really banking on being able to get an advantage with that as the tyres come into form. Let's move back slightly then. Quite a busy grid at the moment here. We can see here the second car for the hill speed. Leandro Juncos, as I was saying earlier, like the 2 cars here are teammates, but they have very different looking cars. So we got the green and white sort of features here on the Argentinian's car. A few last minute words being had there. And if we pan around to the right, we'll see his teammate Dan Ginchard, who we heard from earlier on, who's got red and white. So teammates, but the cars are completely different. Very IndyCar of them, isn't it? And which is appropriate with Juncos Hollinger being an IndyCar team and the link up there.
And I don't know, John, you weren't at the first race, but Leandro's actually done a bit of race engineering and strategy for the Juncos team in the past as well.
Well, there we go. Let's take a look then at Silverstone. First of all, we'll have a look at the track and then we'll see what it looks like from the driver's perspective.
The home of British motorsport hosts this weekend's racing for the GB4 Championship, partnered by the BRDC, with such iconic corners like the Maggotts-Beckett's Chapel section, the head down into Stowe, and of course that Vale Club loop out onto the Hamilton Straight before we head through Abbey, then Farm and into the Village Loop section, out through Aintree, and of course onto the Wellington Straight where we head into Brooklands, and then Luffield to complete the lap here on the national side. It is a long circuit, it is a tricky circuit over the 18 corners, but of course all of those turns are definitely overtaking opportunities here in GB4. Very flat circuit in the run around the 3.6 miles, of course, 5.9 kilometres around the British Grand Prix venue. Of course, that is a look at the Silverstone circuit.
Let's take a lap of the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit in the new for 2025 GB4 car. On board with Leon Wilson for Arden. Almost flat out through turn 1 of Cox, using all the road on the exit, but no more. Track limits are in force, and your lap will be deleted in qualifying, and do it too many times in the race, you'll be expecting a penalty. Now, Maggotts-Beckett's in Chapel, one of the most thrilling sequences of corners anywhere in the world. Chapel being the most important, a slight wobble of oversteer from Leon through there, but gets a good exit nonetheless. Now, Hanger Straight, one of the longest straights on the circuit. It's completely flat out down here as we edge the left-hand side. We'll see overtaking on the inside and the outside in the races here. Braking down 1 or 2 gears for Stowe. Use the curb on the apex to rotate the car. Again, look out for track limits on the exit. Over to the right now for Vale, one of the heaviest braking zones on the circuit. Down 3 gears, nibble the curb on the left, middle of the road to go completely flat out through Club on the right. Again, watch out for the curb on the exit. It can suck you off the track and make your lap invalid in qualifying. We're now heading down the Hamilton Straight, completely flat out all the way down to Village, but first we have to negotiate the kink right of Abbey and the kink left of Farm. Heading down into the braking zone now for Village. Braking and turning, technical entry here, use the curb at the apex, running out to the exit and then repositioning for the entry of the loop. Traction is very important out of there. Leon has a great amount of traction from his Arden car as we now head up flat out through Aintree onto the Wellington Straight. Another slipstreaming opportunity for these GB4 cars, and we'll see plenty of overtaking opportunities in the race down into Brooklands. On this lap, we use the curb on the right to open up the entry. The steering loads up to the middle here, very high grip. And then the last corner, Luffield. We send it in, miss the middle of the corner, cut back for a good exit. And that is a lap of the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit in the new for 2025 GB4 car with Leon Wilson.
Well, there we go. That is the track for the final time here at Silverstone. It's great to see it from a driver's perspective. I'm sure it makes you wish you were back out there, Piers.
Maybe a little bit.
Yeah, well, you've driven this car, and obviously an upgraded car for this season, halo and more safety features, completely different wings, a lot of changes. Let's take a look at some of the other drivers then. Enzo Hallman is a driver we've not spoken of as much so far this weekend in the Douglas Motorsports car, the Swedish driver. Very, very striking cars, very easy to look out for again. Newish tyres on the left-hand side, new tyres?
They are scrubbed,
worn-in.
but they might have been rotated around the car. That some drivers put tyres on one side, then move them to the other, depending on their tactics for the race weekend.
You see on here on the front of the car, we've got a Motorhead logo, right? This isn't because Enzo's a massive fan of Motorhead. It's because I've just been told Mickey D, you know who Mickey D is?
I don't.
Of course you do, Piers. It's the drummer in Motorhead. Enzo's dad is good mates with Mickey D, who was the drummer in Motorhead, not performing anymore after Lemmy's death, very sadly. But they're good mates, so he gave him the blessing to put the Motorhead logo on the car, which I think is fantastic. We should be crossing over like Hard Rock and GB4 more often. Anyway, let's talk about more cars here. We've got Alex Berg, who we have spoken about before this weekend. Ava Dobson is also another returning driver. We saw Ava at times last season, and showing some progress as well, because she did join the championship last year, kind of mid-season towards the end of the season actually, and obviously quite hard to catch up once you've joined later on.
Yeah, she struggled with her race starts last year, but then got on top of them after a little while. Her best result came here at Silverstone last year of 9th place. She'll be looking to emulate that in this one. It's going to be a tough fight from Ava from 17th on the grid this time. I was chatting to Edu, her race engineer, and he was saying that she didn't quite get the most out of the new tyre in qualifying, and that actually on raw pace she should be more closer to about the 10th place mark. So maybe keep an eye on Ava. She's had a couple of track limit warnings and penalties this weekend already so far, so she'll have to be mindful of those white lines if she wants to continue to get good results.
Of course, one of the sponsors of the championship, Omologato, who give the award for the best driver of the weekend.
The one to watch.
The one to watch. We saw Shami, the man behind Omologato watches earlier on, always in the paddock, and I just wanted to give him a shout out because he's always, every time I'm at a race weekend, he's there. I was at IndyCar recently. He was over there supporting one of the IndyCar drivers, a huge supporter of junior and professional racing. So shout out to Shami from Omologato with that one to watch award as well. That'll be awarded at the end of the weekend. We have one more race then to come up in the GB4 Championship. It's the reverse grid race. The cars are about to go out on track, so for one last time this weekend, it's round 6 of the 2025 GB4 Championship. Let's go racing.
One final race then here at the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit. Of course, after a fantastic weekend so far from the Elite Motorsports team. Alexandros Katoulis continues to remain at the top of the championship, leading by just 4 points over his teammate Isaac Phelps, victorious in the previous race. Of course, it's reverse grid time though here at Silverstone, and let's take one final look around this circuit this weekend. Magnus Beckett and Chapel, iconic. Stone, iconic, as they head back out onto the Hamilton Straight, which caused drama in the GB3 race a bit earlier on in the day. Village in the Loop, where we've seen so many great overtakes in the past. Of course, Brooklands and Luffield to round out what is already an excellent lap here at Silverstone. 18 turns, and we did see quite a lot of overtakes throughout the race. It is mostly about getting that start nailed though, and they run down into Maggots, Beckett and Chapel to begin the race. It was a 1-2-3 for the Elite Motorsports team as they take a dominant place atop the team's championship. 277 points in the opening 5 races. They lead Hillspeed, who are on 175. It's already a 102-point lead for the Elite Motorsports team. Douglas behind that on 138. They have less than half of the Elite Motorsports takings in the opening 5. Of course, those teams' championships that I'm reading out there, If you're a 3-car team, it's your top 2 drivers from each given race. So, of course, for Elite Motorsports, that's classified as 2 1-2s back-to-back. They have maximised their points thus far here in Silverstone. Will they be able to do it again? Now, we have had drivers take 3 race victories in a given weekend. That can't happen here today because, of course, Catoulis and Phelps both have 1 victory apiece this weekend. But Elite Motorsports, they could still sweep the weekend. The only driver who's not an Elite Motorsports driver who's taken victory so far this season is that of Alex Berg. It's Lewis McGlade, it's Piers Pryor in the commentary booth. And again, these reverse grid races, they're always extremely exciting, Piers. And I think this one, no less than any other.
Yes, so we could potentially even be seeing another Graham Brunton racing. So we could see all 6 races being taken by either Elite or Graham Brunton, but that relies largely on this man here from pole position, Callum Baxter, our highest returning seed from last year, if I'm not mistaken, 7th place in the championship last year. He's alongside a new driver to the championship and with a new team, ADM, sporting Jason Pribble. We caught up with him just before the race. Glad to hear that they're having some good fun with their culinary creations ahead of this weekend. Not a typical racing driver's diet on a race weekend, but as long as it makes him feel like he's got the energy to go racing, who am I to say otherwise?
Let's talk very quickly, do a little bit of housekeeping from the previous race. If you did join us a little bit earlier on in the day for race number 5 of the championship, you will note that Luke Hilton did drop down to 20th position. He was actually disqualified from the race. So it was unsafe driving was basically what it was classified as from race control. Obviously, that's only cost him a single point. He finished in 20th, so he's lost that single point. But of course, he'll get some points on his licence. And he's got to be a good boy. In
points
this.
On your licence certainly do not mean prizes.
They do not.
No. Over the years, you basically get points on your licence for effectively being a bad boy. So it's effectively a warning. Do that too many times, and we know drivers can get bans. But none of these drivers on this grid are anywhere near a ban yet. But let's keep an eye on the drivers that did the formation lap. Actually, David Dobson. No, was that Dobson or was that Wilson getting a slow start away from the formation lap? I think that was Wilson, the 27, but he's away okay. Keep an eye for those 3 yellow Elite cars. I think they're probably not going to finish where they start based on their pace so far this weekend. And we know in GB4 you can overtake around the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit.
Certainly not. I bet you've got a few points on your licence. At least, your racing licence. He's smirking at me, it's fine. Callum Baxter then will start from the reverse grid pole position for Graham Brunton Racing alongside Jason Pribble for the ADM team. Of course, the sole entry for that squad. Tom Ingram-Hill will start from 3rd position with Dan Ginchard, who, to be fair, I'd almost say is maybe the favourite for this race. He'll be rolling off of 4th position for the Hill Speed team coming into this ramp as the championship leader. Leandro Juncos will start from 5th with Dayton Coulthard starting from 6th position for the Douglas Motorsports team, showing actually some really good speed throughout the day. Then it's Liam Wilson and Jack Taylor down in 8th position, picking up his 1st or 2nd podium of his career here. Then it's Ari Bansal and Luke Hilton at the back end of the top 10 before 2 elite drivers in 11th and 12th. Of course, it's Isaac Phelps and Alex Catoulis. Those 2 victorious in the opening races this weekend. Alex O'Grady from 13th position alongside Luca Magnussen, who had quite a big off in the previous race. Alex Berg and Enzo Holman will be starting from 16th position. Then we'll have Ava Dobson and Megan Bruce starting from 17th and 18th respectively. And of course, it's Maya Dianarine and Josh McLean starting from 20th place. Maya Dianarine struggling a little bit with the Silverstone circuit, more so than he was obviously a couple of weeks ago. Holly Marr will start from 21st position alongside Niall Evans in 22nd position. And the final row of the grid sees Lily Watkins and Caitlin McDaniel, who, fun fact, Caitlin McDaniel has started in 24th position in all 6 of the races so far this season.
Yeah, she's not had a huge amount of racing experience before joining the GB4 Championship, so she'll be learning as she goes, and I'm sure we'll see her move her way up the grid. Just a note, I think there's been a couple of slight amendments to the grid advertised, so you might see a couple of drivers in very, very slightly different positions. As far as I'm aware, it's Ginchard that's going from 3rd, Juncos 4th, Coulthard 5th, and Ingram-Hill in 6th. So slight amendment to the originally advertised grid spaces. So if you're a bit confused by that, don't worry. It's not a massive change. It's basically the drivers 3rd through 6th that have been shuffled around a little bit.
And who's your favourite for this race? Who you are? I've already made myself clear as to who I think might be the driver to watch in this one.
It's hard to call because Callum Baxter, if he gets a good start, we know that he can take it to them, and it's his second year. Jason Pribble, it would be great to see the ADM team and the one-car team there take victory on this lovely afternoon. You can see there 19 degrees, 54%, only a few fluffy clouds in the sky. But I think Ginchard is probably my favourite. Going from the outside of row 2 on the racing line, he should get away from the line well. If he can get past the likes of Pribble or Baxter or both on the first couple of corners, then he'll be in a good position. We saw how strong they were, the Hill Speed cars, in terms of pace at the end of this morning's race.
Yeah, I would very much lean towards Ginchard to be the favourite for this race, and I'm sure he'll know that as well. Again, I've said it a few times, but it did come into this as the championship leader.
Worth noting though, I don't know if you saw on the grid, Pribble, 2 brand new unused left-hand side tyres. That's definitely going to give him an advantage. Lots of things to keep an eye on in this race as we go racing for the final time here at Silverstone Grand Prix Circuit. Oh, I'm looking forward to this one, Lewis.
Yes, certainly so. We did have a couple of safety car interventions in the previous race. Whether we'll be seeing that again, we'll have to wait and see. We didn't see any safety cars come out into the circuit when we were racing at Donington Park. Well, we'll see if we can get through this one cleanly. 18 minutes onto the clock. Should be an estimated 9 laps of racing. Of course, we just had 8 in the previous, courtesy of the safety car interventions. And everyone is now in position and ready to go. The second reverse grid race then, ready to go racing here at Silverstone for the 6th time in the GB4 Championship, partnered by the BRDC. We are racing down to that first corner. I think it was a good start from Callum Baxter from the reverse grid pole as they all wrestle their way down to the first corner. It is Jason Pribble, though, who converts that one straight through into first place. And of course, Dan Ginchard has come through with that Hill Speed red and black car up into second. Into Baggett, Beckers and Chappell, and Baxter's dropped back behind, even Leandro Junkos. So that red and white car of Callum Baxter from the reverse grid pole, despite that initial getaway being all right, he's dropped right back.
Yeah, potentially a good launch off the line, but maybe not pulling first gear early or pulling it too late. So he's dropped down a few positions out of the podium places already. A dream start for Pribble, especially with those new left-hand side tyres, but he's got the 2 fighting Hill Speeds behind him. He's going to have to keep an eye on those as we see Wilson in the 27 fighting with the 50 of Jack Taylor. Taylor goes up the inside, the 46 is that Bansal, I think it is. So they're fighting through Stowe Corner, very, very close on the exit, but everyone making it through the first sector cleanly. Up the inside goes Taylor into Vale.
Yeah, Taylor's not getting scared of this one. He sends it on Harry Bansal, who squeezes him out wide. They head their way through Vale and then out towards the Hamilton Straight. He's gone too wide as the red and white car there of Jack Taylor. And Harry Bansal in that bright yellow Elite Motorsports car is the one that's holding onto the position. But look at Leon Wilson throwing his way into the mix in that red and white Arden car on the inside as they head their way through Abbey. So close between Leon Wilson and Jack Taylor as they head their way through. Tom Ingram Hill is now into the mix in the number 8 car.
Yeah, Tom Ingram Hill going around the outside of that Village looking for the outside line on Wilson, and actually Tom Ingram Hill making an excellent move. Is that 2 positions in 2 corners and showing Leon Wilson a one-way ticket to the grass. That was a little bit rude on the exit, might just be all right, but good to see the young driver making some aggressive moves with nearly 3 abreast coming down the Wellington Straight. It's an elite side-by-side with the 32. That is Luke Hilton. The 36 is Phelps. He's made his way through on Catulus. Out of wide, this is Baxter. He's falling further and further. No, that's the 98, sorry, that's Berg, the red and white car. He's falling further and further back. Close fighting all the way around this first lap.
Yeah, indeed. Like I say, that was Isaac Phelps making some progress. Again, he's 4 points shy of Alex Catulus' current points lead in the championship. I know it's too early to be talking about points, but you know me, I'm going to be bringing it up. Alex O'Grady is looking to the outside here on the number 32 as they head their way through the first corner. That is Luke Hilton, who's dropped back into the clutches. It's still Jason Pribble, though, leading as they head their way through Maggots, Beckett and Chappell. And, of course, as he heads back out onto the Hangar Straight. That there is the 32 of Hilton, and he is hanging on from that number 3, the charcoal grey and blue car of Alex O'Grady.
Yeah, that's the battle for 12th place between Hilton and O'Grady, but that's a kind of a battle sort of 8th down through 14th, really. I mean, look at the field there, pretty much nose to tail. The only gap is back to Jack Taylor after we saw that fighting, and actually a word on that move around the outside of Abbey. That was brave from Jack Taylor just a lap ago. He managed to do what Hilton tried a couple of times yesterday and this morning and couldn't quite get done. But we're looking at the battle now, the 23. Lewis, I'll let you talk about it.
Yeah, I was going to say the 27 has actually just got past Ava Dobson, so Wilson is working his way back up the order. 23 of Luca Magnussen then is trying to work his way through. That one has gone horrendously for him, and the number 7 of Enzo Holman has been able to work his way through. Of course, they're all trying to get past Mayor Dian Areen as well. So this is for 14th position. Dian Areen's actually had a really good start this race. He's gained 3 positions on the opening lap.
Yeah, good racing from Dionarine, just holding those two up, and he was offensive. And unfortunately for Luca Magnusson, trying to go one forward, he's now got the momentum going back because he was passed already by Horman. And now on the outside is looking Leon Wilson, who's recovering after the escape off the road at this point 1 lap ago, and he's got that move done.
Yeah, watch out for that 27, the Arden car, to work his way back up the order quite nicely. Speaking of which, Ginchard is right on the rear end of Pribble for the race lead. Obviously, that's going to be heating up as here comes Alex O'Grady to the outside of the number 32 of Hilton. They squeeze their way through Brooklands. I think O'Grady's going to come out on top in that. There's the battle for the race lead, though. Ginchard in that red and black car is going on the attack.
Yeah, good move on the outside from O'Grady, and good work from Luke Hilton, giving O'Grady enough space on the exit. Clean racing. We like to see that, but at the moment it is at the front of the field. Pribble for ADM, the one-car team at the moment, chased by the 2 Hill Speeds. We know how strong they are in the late race pace, and look at it, confirmed there. Ginchard, fastest lap of the race, a 2:01.7 on that last time by. He's now within about 4 tenths over the line. He looks like he's kept right up behind Pribble through Maggots and Beckers. Will he have an overtaking opportunity into Stowe? I don't think so this lap, but the pressure is certainly mounting for the race lead.
I mean, Ginchard is one of those drivers who's yet to take a victory. Of course, we've only had 4 drivers take victory across this season. Isaac Phelps becoming the first repeat winner, as there's Ari Bansal looking to the inside on Dayton Coulthard. That one is for 5th position. So Ari Bansal in that bright yellow elite car gets down the inside of the blue of Dayton Coulthard. That was a nice move, just a nice little lunge.
Regulation move into Stowe corner there. Bansal used the toe, got up the inside, blocked Dayton's Coulthard's path to the apex, absolutely fairly done, and then Dayton Coulthard doing the right thing, just dropping in behind so that they both don't lose too much time. Junkos at this stage dropping off the back of Ginchard. That's a gap's opening up a little bit. Don't know whether he's just bringing his tyres in a bit more slowly, or whether he doesn't quite have the pace of his teammate. It was only 2 tenths off on that last lap, but it was the middle sector actually this time around that he lost a bit of time. He must have made a mistake, did Junkos. Good 3 or 4 tenths off the pace in that compared to our 2 leaders.
Indeed, 12 minutes left to go when they get to the line, which means there will be 6 laps left, 3 complete, so plenty of time for Ginchard to find his way through into the race lead. Does look, though, considering you've got Pribble, Ginchard, Junkos, Baxter, Coulthard, those lot have not been victorious. The highest placed winner that's already had a victory this season is, of course, Ari Bansal. This is back to the number 51, though, of Catulus in the battle for 11th position. As there's Isaac Phelps working his way through under pressure from Tom Ingram Hill in the red and white car, but Catulus in that bright yellow was starting to feel a little pressure. He's not got much pace in this compared to where he was earlier in the weekend.
No, he had not a great start. I think he's got past Berg at some point on this lap out of camera shot, and he was then defending from Berg. Was he? Yeah, he has. He just got past Berg on this lap, so that was why he was defending, potentially got through. Fastest lap, responding to the pace of Ginchard on that previous one. 2:01.4, only 600ths faster than Ginchard behind, so that gap remaining the same at about 4.5 tenths. But yeah, moving back to the field is Catulus after not the best start compared to his teammates. The greatest mover of those 3 elite cars at this stage is Bansal in 5th place.
Certainly so. There comes a little bit of a look more. That's more just filling the mirrors, isn't it, from Ginchard there, just trying to maybe get Pribble offline. Is there any worth in that, or is that literally just a game of psychology?
This is a game of psychology. You know, Pribble's not raced against Dan Ginchard a huge amounts before. Pribble's done a fair amount of Formula Ford racing and also raced in a home. And I was about to say, all Dan Ginchard's trying to do is force a mistake from Pribble, and Pribble's made the mistake, running a bit wide on the exit of club, and that's given the lead to Dan Ginchard. Ginchard didn't have to work particularly hard for that one, and I think at this stage it's going to be hard for Pribble to keep up with the pace of the hill speeds.
What did I say last round? The easiest overtake is the one you never have to make, and that is exactly what Dan Ginchard's done then. He didn't have to do anything. He just watched the car drive it off the road. He got in Pribble's head, and it worked a treat. It's kind of anticlimactic, isn't it? But at the same time, if you're a racing driver, freebie.
Absolutely. Ginchard will be very happy with that one. As we see on the outside of the loop, that's Taylor fending off Phelps, or is it Taylor getting past Phelps? That's Phelps trying to overtake Jack Taylor, so clearly a move up the inside from Phelps into the loop, and Taylor fending it off. Defensive now goes Taylor to the inside of Brooklands. You can overtake around the outside if Phelps breaks late. Looks like he's not going to be able to get that one done. Have we seen a move here? We have. That's Bansal past Baxter into 4th place as well.
Here comes Phelps to the outside of the number 50 of Jack Taylor, who fends him off at the moment, keeping Isaac Phelps at bay as Phelps starts to feel the pressure from Tom Ingram Hill. You've got the red and white of Fortec, the yellow of Elite, the red and white of Fortec again, and the yellow of Elite again in that battle at the moment for 7th position. This is back to Luca Magnussen, who I think has recently just been passed by Leon Wilson, who now has Ava Dobson to the inside as they head their way down to the first corner. Dobson in the 55 trying to get past the 23, the third of the 4 tech cars in that distinctive black, red and white livery for Magnussen. It is Catulus then, the 4th car of this train that's just set the fastest lap of the race. I was saying maybe he's not got the pace. Well, I should shut up, shouldn't I? My goodness, he's right there now.
I think he was just being held up by the cars around him, and now he's been released, and he's actually already alongside Tom Ingram Hill, so he's potentially looking for a move around the outside. He's got that done pretty much before we get to, in fact, had it done before they got to Stowe, so either a poor exit from Tom Ingram Hill or a good exit from Catulus. He's now on the back of his teammate Phelps. Phelps in the 35, the first of those yellow cars in shot. 51 is Catulus with the purple helmet. There you see him running through Vale and Club now, and it looks like at this stage, unfortunately, Taylor doesn't have the pace that he showed in qualifying and is holding up these 2 behind, or these 3 drivers behind actually. He's going to have to defend hard to keep both of these fast Elite Motorsport cars. This is just a replay of the second half of the move for the lead. That was when Pribble had already run wide at the exit of Club Corner, and a fairly, Lewis, as you mentioned, regulation overtake for, I say regulation, didn't even have to do an overtake. It's a late lunge up the loop there between those 2. Oh dear, there's contact, and round goes Taylor.
That, unfortunately, looked like it was always going to happen. It was such a send from Isaac Phelps, who goes clean off the road to where Kimi Räikkönen was back in 2014, if I remember correctly. And that car is toast, unfortunately, for Jack Taylor. There was battling happening up ahead. I think Isaac Phelps' car is okay. Somehow I think that front wing is all right, but you can see the rear right is basically, also the rear left rather, is basically completely broken off on him.
And Alex Berger's got a puncture as well. I don't know whether he was involved in that incident as well, but he's got a left rear puncture. He must have been clipped at some point, and you can see the frustration. He's out, so all change. He
was clipped by Hilton because Hilton's got front wing damage, has not brought it into pit lane. We've not heard Hilton's car come through. It's all got a bit chaotic here as the 32 has also been given a time penalty. That is Hilton, who's been given a 5-second time penalty for track limits. So we've got cars basically all over the place here in GB4. We've got scheduled 4 laps left to go. There's that front wing damage on Hilton's car working into Magnus Beckers at Chapel, and that car is not going to grip. The 44 of Mayor Dianarine, the white and blue, gets round. Then goes Alex O'Grady. Then goes the 27 of Wilson in the number 20 in the Arden car. And now it's the 2 Douglas cars going through. It's all a bit messy.
Yeah, unfortunately, Hilton's had a bit of a messy weekend. He's had great pace, but just things haven't really gone his way, and he's going to have to come into the pits. Berg's car is stranded for now, so we'll keep ourselves on safety car alert. The 5-second penalty for track limits for Hilton is fairly inconsequential now. We're still fighting Horman, fighting with Magnussen. Magnussen leaving the circuit on the exit of Stowe and maintaining that position. Maybe the race director will want to have a look at that later on, but it's good fighting all the way up and down the field. They've still kicked off by that initial contact between Taylor and Phelps. I don't know if we're going to get another angle of that. It would be good to look at that again because it looked a little clumsy from me, a bit of an unnecessary contact, but hard to tell who was at fault at this stage. But somehow Phelps is continuing on despite Taylor being stranded with rear suspension damage. Someone in the pits, I'll keep half an eye who that is. That is Berg. He's made it out of the way at the last corner, so maybe the safety car is for Taylor's car, which may still be stranded.
Yeah, certainly so. So safety car has been deployed in this race. So like you say, I think that is more for Taylor's. One thing that does do, though,
give us a chance to catch our breath.
It will do.
Here we go.
Here you go. Yeah, you
right,
go for it.
So it was a good move up the inside from Phelps. They're close on the exit. I think, unfortunately, that's on Phelps. He needed to allow a bit more space for Taylor. He was alongside, but Taylor was always going to come back towards the racing line. He was on the curb. You can't expect the drivers to get out of your way. Here we go. Let's have a look at this as well. Oh, it was Hilton. Yeah, it was. Oh, no, hang on. That wasn't.
I think it already happened at Brooklands. I think that, because look at Hilton come through here.
He's
Hilton
already got
on the right-hand side. He already has the front wing damage.
Yeah.
So I think they've made contact at Brooklands, and then the 98 of Berg's car, that tyre has been going down.
Yeah.
By the time they get into Luffield, we are basically CSI.
Yes. Yeah, Lewis, you're doing a great job of being detective, Lewis. There. Of course, it is speculation at this stage. No lasting damage to Berg's car, but he is out, and effectively his race result is done. That is the stricken car of Jack Taylor. Unfortunate for him, I just feel like he can't catch a break at the moment. He's made such a step forward in terms of pace, had some solid results, but just keeps things not going quite his way. It's one of those situations where I don't think Taylor could have done a huge amount more. He was still ahead at that time. He gave Phelps as much space as he could. He was 2 wheels on the curb up towards the grass. Phelps just understeered ever so slightly into the back of his car. Again, this is just my opinion from the one shot we've seen. The race directors and stewards will look at that in far more detail with the onboard cameras and the circuit cameras as well to make a decision on that one. But unfortunately, Taylor is going to be out of the race regardless of what comes of it. Maybe Phelps will be looking potentially a call to the stewards to explain what he think went on.
I think he might lose. He's going to kind of lose out here with the championship because Katulis has also got through on Phelps in all of that. I'm trying to go into the memory books here. I'm pretty sure we've seen an elite car and a Fortec car come together at that corner in a very similar way, because I'm pretty sure in the third weekend, it was third weekend that we did ever of GB4, which was back in 2022.
Taylor.
Nicholas Taylor.
A Taylor in a
another
Fortec.
Taylor. And it was Alex Connor.
It was.
Who made... I'm pretty sure it was there. It might have been a couple of corners before.
No, Alex Connor. It was Walker.
Oh, it was Alex Walker. Yeah, no, Alex Connor's a completely different guy.
Yeah, Alex Connor raced in GB3 for Arden.
Alex Walker, yes, you're absolutely right.
There is Jack Taylor. He's absolutely fine physically. I'm sure he's it's pretty hot inside that skull of his at the moment, because I don't think he did a huge amount wrong here. Oh, we're going to get another look at this incident between Berg and Hilton. Hilton took to the inside to try and not make contact with Alex Berg, but unfortunately, in doing so, hit the curb and front wing to rear wheel contact. That knocked the front wing off of its mounting points for Hilton and took the rear Pirelli tyre off. And you can see already that inside front wheel off the ground because the air has escaped from that left rear of Berg. And then when he turned into the corner, no grip, and around he went. It's been a bit of a scrappy weekend for Luke Hilton. He's trying to do the right thing. He's trying to give Berg all the space, just over-correcting almost slightly through the apex of Brooklands, hitting that curb and sending him wide. Are we going to get going green again? We are this lap. So Daniel Ginchard from the front of the field is going to control the pace ahead of Pribble and then his teammate Junkos. Let's see when he goes and if he can get a good safety car restart.
And if he gets this right, then we will be going with just about enough time to get 2 laps in. Maybe he's going to hold. We won't know what time left in the race, surely. But if he crosses the line with more than 2 minutes and 7 seconds left to go, I think he might know that. He's trying to make this 1 lap left. So as he hits the throttle down and heads up towards the line, he's going to head across the line. Oof. And with less than 2 minutes and 7 seconds left to go, which is roughly or 2 minutes and 1 rather, it's going to be really tight. Of course, they're accelerating here. This could be the final lap. It could be the penultimate. It's going to come down to seconds between them. But at the moment, that was a good start from Ginchard, who was trying to delay it as much as possible. That's one of the Arden cars. I believe that might have been Wilson out wide.
Yes, I think we are going to have another lap after this. He just came over the line with about 2 minutes 6 seconds to go, and with 2 minute 1s and 2s that we've been doing, should just about creep another lap in. A good safety car restart fairly from Pribble, but look at that car, the 77 car of Junkos. He's now closest. You can see Pribble's feeling the pressure, jinking to one side, trying to break the toe. We've got side-by-side action further down the field. Wilson looking on the outside of O'Grady, looking to take that place, and also the 23 black and red car of Magnussen also trying to get involved in this. Magnussen looking to the inside of Wilson. Wilson hanging around the outside. Who's going to come out on top there? Wilson all the way around the outside of O'Grady. That's an excellent move.
That is superb from the number 27. He's still there as there comes the 76 of McGlade down the inside of Megan Bruce. A little bit of a brush between the Megan Bruce and that number 9 KMR Sport car. And there goes Wilson out wide. He's going to get very frustrated with this grid after being muscled out wide a couple of times already in this race. As Dayton Coulthard now tries to keep Alex Katulis at bay. Katulis, of course, driving that 51 bright yellow elite car.
Yeah, Dayton Coulthard just went defensive through Abbey. That's going to leave him vulnerable into Village, but he's and the loop, he's defensive into Village, so he won't be able to get through, but that's going to leave him potentially vulnerable. He's defended that one as well. Katulis looking to the outside. He'll try and get the cutback, better traction. So Dayton Coulthard once again going to have to defend down the Wellington straight in towards Brooklands. Will he defend left? Yes, he does. Forces Katulis to the outside, just about leaves enough space on the inside. Katulis, can he get it done around the outside? That would be a bold move, as we also see Phelps and Dionorine going side by side in the background. Phelps in the yellow, Dionorine in the blue.
And there is the number 7 as well. That's Enzo Holman trying to battle with the 27 of Leon Wilson. So out through the final corner, we'll be keeping our eye out for if there is a checkered flag. But I think we're going to be going around once more here as Dan Ginchard has the control. With seconds to go, he crosses the line and begins the final lap of proceedings here. It's, of course, Ginchard from Pribble, from Junkos, from Bansal, Baxter, Coulthard, Katulis, Ingram Hill, Phelps, Dionorine and O'Grady to the top 10.
Coulthard wide at Copse Corner, as is Phelps as well. Is that Phelps
Phelps? Yeah, it must be. So two drivers wide on the exit there. Track limit warning for the 27. That is Wilson further down the order. Only one more lap to go, so I'm sure he can keep it on the white lines for this final lap of the race. That's just about managing to fend off Catullus is Coulthard after going wide at turn number 1, but the person under most pressure is still Coulthard, weaving one way, weaving the other. He can't do too much of that. Catullus in the slipstream, pops to the outside. We've seen moves around the outside of Stowe. Can he do it this time? No, Catullus looking for the cutback, and he's thinking maybe I'll be able to get a move on the brakes down into Vale.
Yeah, indeed. Of course, Catullus has to think, though, championship game, he can't take anything too risky. His results this season, third, sixth, first, second. And at the moment, he runs in 7th. He'd like to get through again, score those extra few points. He's been so consistent this season. The 51 is the championship leader at the moment.
Yep, championship leader. He knows he needs a solid result here. This would be an okay result, 7th place, but he'd like to get 6th and match his worst result and not get any better. Again, defensive. Coulthard goes through Abbey. Again, it's going to leave him vulnerable into Village. He's having to go defensive on the brakes, but the Village turns into the loop. Catullus looking to the outside, he's got a full overlap. That's a wonderful move around the outside, although he's gone deep into the loop. Will Coulthard have a good exit? Defensive on the exit as well goes Catullus, but now roles reverse from a lap ago. Coulthard's looking for the slipstream.
Yeah, this is going to be big. Can Coulthard get through? Dayton Coulthard, who's having his best weekend so far, of course, struggled a little bit back in Donington Park, now going on the exit for Catullus. He looks to the outside as they head their way through the 28 then of Dayton Coulthard, trying to send it through as they head their way through Brooklands. It's so close to an overlap, and Coulthard's fired his way through, and now Catullus has been sent off. That one was predictable from a mile away. The race ends in drama, but not for Ginchard, who comes through the final corner to win his first race in GB4. After him, it's Pribble and then Junkos. It's a great race for the Hill Speed team, 1st and 3rd, and it is drama for our championship leader, who I'm sure will be dropping down the order.
Yeah, and we see actually a puncture for Luca Magnusson over the start-finish line. Hopefully he makes it round turn 1 safely after the checkered flag. But Ginchard controlled that brilliantly, put the pressure on Pribble. Pribble made the mistake. He's still a good result for that one-car team of ADM and Jason Pribble, 2nd place. They'll be happy with that, but thinking about what could have been 3rd place on the road for Junkos, a good result for Hill Speed. Their work is paying off.
Yeah, indeed. So it's the no elites on the podium, as we had in the reverse grid race, of course, back in Donington Park. And again, we get our 5th different winner of the season, Dan Ginchard, who I'm not 100% sure. Obviously, I'll be running the maths and stuff like that. I think he'll be quite close to retaking over the championship lead, you know. I don't think he'll quite do it, but he'll be certainly throwing himself back in contention after what has been an all-right 1st and 2nd race.
Yeah, definitely. And Ari Bansal's had a good race in that one. He started in 9th place, kept out of trouble, made a couple of good moves. He finished on 4th on the road. There is Catullus. He did come over the line in 20th place, so we'll scrape a point or so, I think, won't he? No, not quite. Of course, it's
top 15.
Yeah, top 15 only get points in this one, and he won't gain any points for overtaking because he went backwards from his grid slot. So no points for our championship leader Catullus in that one. A bit unfortunate. I think potentially Coulthard could have given that one up. I think there was a speculative overlap, and again, we only saw one low down angle, but it looked like Catullus probably did enough to take that place. It's always pinches down at the apex of Luffield at the last corner. Remains to be seen what will come of that. Unfortunately, Coulthard losing out regardless. He finished 8th on the road after losing some time in that incident as well. So good racing, largely. We saw a couple of incidents on circuit, but race number 3, always producing drama, always producing action, and no different this time.
Shout out to Luke Hilton as well, fastest lap of the race despite all that drama. I mean, it's something to talk about, I guess, for him after what has been, like you say, a weekend of promise.
Oh, no, it's Catullus at the first lap.
Oh, it's Catullus. No, sorry, I can't read. Don't worry. God, I wagged my finger. You wagged my finger. We're not doing well at this. Neither of us can read. It's fine. Dan Ginchard then will be climbing out of the car. That car is rolling backwards for Leandro Junkos, but that's fine. What a great drive, though. I mean, look, timed it well. Was sat behind the right point, got into the mirrors of Pribble, and there we go. Worked his way through into victory. Not quite as dramatic a celebration as we saw from Alex Berg, though, the first round of the championship.
I don't think we're ever going to see a celebration quite as dramatic as Alex Berg. And there's Jason Pribble celebrating with the ADM team. That's Chris Weller, his race engineer. Chris was my race engineer when I raced in GB3. Yes, he was. Good to see him back in the paddock. And also good to see the teams congratulating each other. The Hill Speed guys giving Jason a high five. But this man's getting all the high fives because he won the race. Dan Ginchard, he's just proving that you just got to be there or thereabouts. You got to take the chances when you get them, but when things aren't rolling your way, then you just got to pick up the points. Unfortunately, that didn't work out for Catoulis today. And Alex Connor giving a high five to Pribble as well. Alex Connor got mentioned in that race, but
with the wrong mention.
the wrong
It's fine.
mention.
It's fine. Yeah, okay. You're throwing me under the bus left, right, and centre. Get out of the comedy booth and go and start interviewing people.
Okay.
All right. There we go. I mean, again, great race and another great drive from Ginchard. Definitely throwing himself back into championship contention. Really want to take it to those elite drivers that are running right up there in the championship. Let's head down though to John Jackson to catch up with the top 3.
Yeah, thank you very much, Lewis. Dan, a great drive from you. Talk me through that race.
Yeah, it was really good. The pace was really, really strong. I knew we had a good chance from the start. So yeah, got a really clean getaway, got into second off the lead. Just waited for a few mistakes from Jason. He drove a really good race. And then, yeah, got into the lead, settled in. I thought, you know, maybe it's not going to be too bad. And then safety car came out just to make things more interesting. But overall, yeah, really happy. The safety car restart was really strong. And overall, yeah, really happy with the result.
Sometimes you need a little bit of patience. We saw some moves further down the field that maybe could have done with the patience that you showed.
Yeah, in these cars, it does take a lot of patience because they're not the easiest to overtake. But when the opportunity arises, it's, you know, you've got to be right on the ball.
Well, look, it's been a great weekend so far for Hill Speed in the GB3 Championship, and now you've got a race win as well to add to Freddie's latest. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
There we go. Dan Ginchard, let's move over. Jason, how are you doing? How does it feel to be on the podium?
It feels great. It's a feeling I want to get used to.
Of course, I know you've got a lot of people watching you here. It must be great to sort of celebrate with people. I know you're a little bit far from home, but to celebrate with the people around you. And you know, talk me through that race.
Yeah, it's been great to have everyone at ADM around me. They've been taking care of me for more than just this season, for the past probably about a year now, and they've made me feel at home while racing in the UK. Unfortunately, the race went well. The start was incredible. Just got off the line so well, and made a mistake coming out of club, and that curb just gets you. It throws the rear end out, and I was glad to keep it on track, but unfortunately lost the position, so yeah.
Well, things you can make up for in the future. We were talking before about the little snack you were having when we came to your awning. What was it that you were having there?
All right, so we've got Gary, our team principal. He's a bit of a danger when he goes to Costco, and gets some brownies. We've got all sorts of sweets in there. It's really a bad influence, but we've got a toasty maker. So I put some pancakes and brownie in between the pancakes and made a toasty out of that, and that was my dessert yesterday. And
I like that.
I might do it again because it seemed to work out.
Yeah, good luck dessert. But the thing is being confident and comfortable in a team is really important. So it's great to see you having a good time. I've got to move on, but congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Awesome stuff. And we'll find Leandro Juncos. We'll just move over very quickly. Leandro, a quick word from you. How was that race for you?
It was mega. It was mega. The car was amazing. Hill Speed did a great job. We've been working at it all weekend, and to get a double podium is huge for us.
Yeah, a great weekend for the team, what would happen in GB3 as well. But talk me through the reverse grid race. Do you kind of approach it with a bit of apprehension because there's a lot of craziness going on?
Yeah, it's a lot of craziness. You just have to kind of survive the first lap and then see where you land and then just manage the race from there. I think without the safety car, we definitely would have got at least second, definitely. But yeah, I mean, the car, we're working at it, and from 9 to 6 to 3rd, I think we made a lot of good steps. And moving forward, I think we can take a lot of stuff from here to the next race.
Absolutely. Well, great weekend for you, great weekend for the team. We'll let you go and get your trophy.
Thank you.
Well, there we go. Great weekend for Hill Speed, as I say. Great weekend for a lot of drivers. Let's let these guys get their trophies on the podium, and then we'll talk to some of the other drivers. Here's Lewis McGlade.
Cheers, Jonas. And yes, indeed, we have some big changes in the championship. We'll talk about the full standings post-race highlights, so in a few moments' time. Before that, we'll obviously introduce our drivers onto the podium. And again, another great race weekend. Plenty of drama. I think the person who'll be coming out of that race the most disappointed, though, will be Alex Catoulis, who was in such a good position until, well, 2 corners left to go, and that's even if you count Aintree as a corner. Realistically, it was the final one at Luffield before being sent round and scoring absolutely nothing from this race. Coming across the line in 12th position. Meanwhile, Dan Ginchard is our race winner, of course. It's great to see Jason Pribble on the podium for the first time. And in fact, that's actually his first top 10 finish in GB4 for Jason Pribble. So that's awesome. I think, to be fair, it's one of those things for the reverse grid. You actually kind of have to qualify well for the reverse grid this year, as it's not the entirety of the grid that gets reversed. It is just the top 12 that gets reversed from the fastest times from qualifying. So you've still got to set a decent qualifying lap, qualify midfield, and then that'll throw your way up towards the front. No entirety of the full grid reverse like what we've had in years prior. Out then onto the podium, we of course have the third place finish driver, Leandro Juncos, his third top 5 of the finish of the season, and of course his first podium of the season indeed. There's Jason Pribble into second place. Here's Dan Ginchard though, taking his first victory, and of course the only driver so far this season now that has scored points in all 6 races, and with that, I can tell you, he's our championship leader. Not by much, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Is, as far as I'm aware, a champion lead for Dan Ginchard, and a very well-deserved victory as well. Again, pace through qualifying, both at Donington and here, to be fair, hasn't looked great, but the race pace of those hill speeds has been really good, especially in the hands of Dan Ginchard, as they all receive their podiums for the top positions. They're getting ready, obviously, for the photographs. We've also got the Sunoco fastest lap of the weekend award. That one to be dished out, and it is to Catoulis, Alex Catoulis. So as much as he is very disappointed with how that race ended, still has to get dragged up to the podium. And to be fair, still quite smiley, it appears, so at least gets that one as bragging rights. To be fair, it has been his weekend. A double pole position, a first and a second, and realistically was looking extremely strong. And with that as well, also gets the Obligato Ones to Watch award, finished in first and second in the opening 2 races. That award, of course, for the highest point score from the opening 2 races of the season. So an excellent round then from Alex Catoulis, who will depart the podium. Sorry, an excellent race from the top 3. Just very disappointing for Catoulis to win that like that, but still, Ginchard victorious. Let's find out how it happened. Highlights then for round 6 of the GB4 Championship, partnered by the BRDC, and of course the reverse grid race. It was Baxter starting from pole position, but was already passed by Pribble down into the first corner. Ginchard straight around the outside as well and up into second position. Wilson was trying to battle with Thomas Ingram Hill. Meanwhile as well, Isaac Phelps into the mix, and with Ingram Hill down the inside of Wilson, he was pushed out wide and would drop a whole host of positions. And the number 27 Ardent car would rejoin the race circuit, but a long way down. He'd still keep his eyes focused and try and rise his way back up the order. Pribble, though, for the race lead, was being under pressure from Dan Ginchard, who would find his way through after this mistake from Pribble, running out wide as they would head through the Vale chicane and then out onto the Hamilton straight. Ginchard then, your race leader, he would try and pull away as quick as possible. The 2 elites were also trying to work their way through the order, with Catoulis working his way through, getting past Tom Ingram Hill and working his way up comfortably inside the top 10. There was this moment as well, as Isaac Phelps and Jack Taylor would make contact. It would be a retirement for Taylor, and it would be a very big issue indeed for Isaac Phelps. It was also this instant as Hilton would clip the rear end after a big slide, and Alex Berg would unfortunately go round. This would cause the safety car, both those incidents happening at the same point. Dan Ginchard in control as he would come through to start the penultimate lap of the race, as the safety car would come in and would get that restart done very nicely from Jason Pribble. There was still plenty of drama further down as Dayton Coulthard was battling with Alex Catoulis on the final lap of the race. The 2 of them putting everything on the line just outside of the top 5, with Catoulis the championship leader at this moment. Then there was this contact as Coulthard into the final corner would send Catoulis around wide, and Dan Ginchard would come through the final corner to take victory for the first time in GB4 and the championship lead. Let's take a look at the provisional race results then. It is Ginchard who has won the race from Pribble and Juncos, those separated by under 2 seconds, and Ari Bansal, Baxter, Ingram Hill, Dianarine, Coulthard, O'Grady and Wilson, the top 10 positions. Catoulis setting the fastest lap of the race, but finishing in 20th, unfortunately, after that incident, with Hallman in 11th position, Isaac Phelps in 12th, Ava Dobson in 13th, and then Magnussen and McLean, the final points-paying positions, in 15th. Those behind that would be Bruce Evans, and then Mile, Hilton and Catoulis. Catoulis. Big dramas, of course, for Catoulis, who was the champion leader into this race. McDaniel, Watkins, Berg and Taylor. Of course, Berg and Taylor both retiring on basically the same point of the race, unfortunately, for the GBR and Fortec teams. Of course, championship-wise, I did mention it before, it is very close. Look at that, the top 4 all separated by 2 points. All 3 of the elite drivers are on 122 points, with the hill speed of Dan Ginchard on 124, 2 points clear. It's the hill speed driver of Leandro Juncos in 5th position, then it's Taylor, Holman, Berg, Dianarine and O'Grady, the top 10. An excellent weekend of racing then here at Silverstone. Let's jump down, I believe, awaiting one Mr. Piers Pryor.
Down here we've got Tom Ingram-Hill. Tom, that looked like quite a good fun race out there from your perspective. Talk to us about it.
Yeah, well, to be honest, we didn't get too involved. Everything was happening around us. But, we were consistent. We had the pace to be inside that top 6. So, yeah, it was really good from our behalf. Everyone else was going off around us, so it was just keeping calm and focused on just what we were doing.
Some of your weekends so far, I think that was your strongest race, both in terms of pace and racecraft as well. But, more about what you're thinking.
Yeah, I think race 1, we struggled. I think we were inside the top 10, but I think we could have achieved a little bit more. In race 2, we made a mistake and crashed with Dayton and received a penalty for it. But I felt like our racecraft in the second one was better and we had better pace. The last one there, I think we were a little bit of a sitting duck, but it's something we can review on. But P6 is still a good result, so yeah.
We'll take confidence in that going into the next round.
Yeah, definitely. I think we've had hard race 2 in both rounds, so it's just bouncing back from that really. But we're still a learning year, so we're just learning as much as we can, and I am learning a lot, so that's the positive.
Of course, you've not done a huge amount of single-seater slicks and wings race. In fact, any before this year, have you?
No, haven't. I just came straight out of genetics into this. Came very late to testing too. So yeah, it's been good learning and getting more experience. And it's good to be inside the top 10 with people that have got a lot more experience than us, age and time in the car. So it's very good on that behalf.
Tom, we look forward to seeing you progress throughout the year and make more good results. Thanks very much for catching up with us. We'll let you go and have a good cool down, maybe get a bite to eat after what's been a hard day's racing. And I'll bring in Ari Bansal next. Thanks, Tom. No worries. Ari Bansal, come on in. Ari, so close to the podium, but I'm sure you're not going to be disappointed coming from 9th on the grid.
Yeah, it's a strong race, and I'm quite happy with the positioning, finishing position, because I think that's 5 bonus points for me, and it's good for the championship, and good overall.
I think you've had a fairly solid weekend. It's not been quite as, you were electrically fast at Donington, maybe not quite the same level of pace, but you're still well within the championship hunt. You've bagged 3 solid point scores, and you're not far, I can't remember exactly the point scores, but you're not far away, I don't think, from that championship lead. You must be happy with that coming away from this weekend.
Yes, good consistent finishes, and unfortunately we didn't have the pace, like you said, as we had in Donington, but still some solid pace for me to be able to work with in the races. And I think that's a good takeaway also.
Absolutely. Where do you think that slight difference in pace from Donington to here is from?
I think it's a combination of everything. A combination of the fact that here there's a lot more like high speed to medium speed corners where dirty air can be quite difficult to work with, and also the toe is really important. So toe and dirty air don't go. You can't. It has to be a fine balance. And also a combination of high deck circuit. Donington is a very low deck circuit compared to here, and I was adjusting to that as the practice sessions and also for the races also.
A lot to get used to, but I'm sure you'll get there eventually. Ari, thanks very much for catching up with us. We'll let you go off and have a good evening, and we'll grab in Enzo Horman. Enzo, driving for Douglas Motorsport. Enzo, that looked like a good fun race out there. You're right in the thick of the action as well.
Yeah. Quite a messy weekend. Struggling the qualifying, made a start from P16, so quite far back, and it's good that it's Silverstone because it offers a lot of racing, but at the same time quite a struggle to keep up in the draft, and it washes a lot in the corners, so bit of a struggle this weekend.
Yeah, of course, we've seen better pace from you at Donington, I think, in qualifying at least. What was the issue in qualifying?
Really not getting the lap. I had a quite good lap, but then I got overtaken by Catoulis, I think. And then didn't get any good laps basically. So quite a tough one, but did my best.
Did your best, always. That's what you're here to do. How do you look upon this weekend as a whole, and what will you take away from this weekend going forward?
Of course, it's not the weekend I wanted. Coming from Donington, I was like super happy with the weekend and really excited for this one. Then ending up P16 in qualifying was quite hard. Didn't really feel like I had the pace at all, but now later on I had quite okay pace. So just racecraft and everything is what I'm bringing with me, because did a lot of overtakes this weekend and had a lot of fights, and yeah, a lot to learn basically, and learned a lot. Yeah.
Well, that's why we're all here, isn't it? Yeah. Exactly that. We'll see how you get on next time out. Thanks very much for coming and chatting to us. I'm going to grab a quick word with Alex Berg. Off you go, Enzo. Great to chat to you, Alex. Great to see your smiling face despite the troubles in that one. We saw you not finish that race, unfortunately.
Unfortunately, yeah, I got put off the track. Well, not put off the track, got ran into and then got a puncture, I think, on lap 5 or something like that. But we were running up in P10, P11 up until then.
Yeah, so you're having a good race until then. I don't know if you've seen, we saw the slow-mo of it. Luke actually was trying to give you some space at the apex of Brooklands, just hit the curb, which is what sent him into you. So an unfortunate incident.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I believe that I gave him at least 2 car lengths worth. And I think we both could have safely made it through the corner. But yeah, what I saw is he hit the curb, gone in to the corner a little bit crossed up, and then as the front started to come back round, he just barely clicked my my left rear end, and that was the tire got debeated and obviously went through left field and just spun around.
Yeah, your tyre was already off the rim at that point. So an unfortunate incident, I think probably a racing incident, obviously not caused by yourself. But what would your takeaways from this weekend be?
Staying positive. I mean, I say that every week, and you might get a little annoyed at that, but pace was just not there in general. No qualifying, race 1. Race 2 was okay. This race, certainly pace wasn't there, but fight to the very last minute, and just always try to drive to the car which you have.
Absolutely. Well, how long until we see those gun celebrations come out again?
Hopefully not too long.
Hopefully not so long indeed. Alex, thank you very much for taking time to chat to us after what is a difficult weekend, well, difficult ends to the weekend for Alex there. Good to hear for some of our drivers that didn't quite make it onto the podium positions.
Yeah, I just saw Jack Taylor. He's with his driver coach Joseph Loke, so I think he's a little bit shell-shocked by everything that happened there. So he wasn't going to come and chat to us, but Joseph was talking to me, and he was very much understanding of basically what you said on commentary, that it was a bit of a Phelps mistake there and left him no room. But that was a shame. But a very eventful weekend of racing in the GB4 Championship. That's 6 rounds gone already. I mean, wow, doesn't even feel like the summer until maybe this weekend. So yeah, we're far into the season already. Of course, loads more coming up very, very soon, and we'll be bringing you coverage of that here exactly where you're watching right now. It's Alton Park, May the 24th and May the 26th. So you got that day in between. Alton Park loves a bank holiday, doesn't it? Round 7 at Alton Park on the Saturday, and then on the Monday it's round 8 and the reverse grid. Round 9 at Alton Park. That's the GB4 Championship standalone, with GB3 next going to Zandvoort, which will be very, very exciting.
Looking forward
to going back to the Netherlands. Yeah, we've had a couple of years of racing there. What kind of racing do you think we're going to see? It's going to be a bit tricky, isn't it?
Yeah, Zandvoort produces good racing, but as does Alton Park. Quite hard to overtake, but certainly a thrill for the drivers, both of those circuits. Alton Park, tight and twisty, part of the reason why the GB3 cars aren't going there, but also they've got races to do abroad. So
of course they have, and we'll look forward to seeing what GB4 can do there on the 2nd May bank holiday then. So thank you very much for watching. Of course, you can go and check out the highlights very, very soon. We'll be up on the GB4 Championship social media pages. You can re-watch all the races exactly where you're watching right now, and check out all of the race reports and the photos from behind the scenes on the GB4 website. We'll see you in a few weekends' time. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you very soon.